Joining us for more, General Jack Keane, a retired four-star general, former vice chief of staff of the Army, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and a Fox News military analyst. So, General Keane, it's worth pointing out to our viewers that the signs that we see in the streets that are anti-Trump in Tehran were anti-Obama in the previous years. So there's some consistency when you see the demonstrations on the Iranian Revolution anniversary. The difference between us and Iran, and there's many, one regime has been in power since 1979. We have a new president. How do we reset this relationship with Iran? Is it even possible with the current regime?
Well, I think we're really turning a new page in our relationship with the Iranians. The Islamic Republic gave birth in 1980, so with 36 years we've been dealing with a regime who desires to dominate and control the Middle East. They use their proxies to do that. They made a decision in 1980 that they've reinforced every single one of these 36 years that they need to drive the United States out of the region, and they're willing to kill us to do that. They blew up our embassies in Lebanon and Kuwait and our annex also in Lebanon. They blew up our barracks in Lebanon and also our barracks in Saudi Arabia. They targeted Americans during the Iraq War with a specific advanced IED that was exclusively designed to kill Americans. They did that for 4 years. The Iranians clearly are about geopolitically dominating the Middle East at the expense of the United States. The tragedy is that no Republican or Democratic president has ever contested their geopolitical objectives despite their killing of Americans in trying to achieve that objective. This, I believe, is the first president who has turned the page and said enough is enough. We are not going to tolerate Iran trampling U.S. and our allied interests in the Middle East any longer, and that is why he sent a loud message with sanctions and more to follow if Iran does not change its behavior. And
you think that's being received in the proper way?
Of course, the hardliners, I do not get involved in this debate inside the Iranians between the hardliners and the moderates, so to speak. I judge Iran by its actions, not by the rhetoric behind the scenes. That kind of attitude that we just heard displayed in front of my interview here is what was so susceptible to President Obama in creating this illusion that there's a possibility of a rapprochement with the Iranians. Not happening. The Iranians want to dominate the Middle East, and they're about that business. And we have to understand that. We have to be willing to confront them. I don't mean necessarily conflict, but I mean we have to be willing to confront them, to change their behavior, and I believe our allies now are going to be strengthened as a result of it, and they certainly are going to recognize that the United States has their back once again.
You know, I just want to point out to our viewers, you're seeing again some of the footage we have of the anniversary celebrations in Iran, many of it anti-Trump, but just last year, many of it was anti-Obama, anti-Secretary Kerry, even after the Iranian nuke deal was announced. So I just want our viewers to understand that this is a yearly event despite the leaderships in our country. There was an interesting piece of news that came out yesterday, General Keane, I wanted to ask you about, though. And it's interesting, the timing. Russia came out yesterday and said, oh, no, we support America when it comes to the Iran nuclear deal. We do not have substantial differences with the United States. And many have suggested that Iran is empowered by Russia. So what do you think's going on there? Why is Russia coming out and saying that?
Well, first of all, Russia is doing everything that it can to become the most influential country that's outside the region of the Middle East. They're doing arms deals with all of our Sunni Arab allies. They want to build nuclear power plants throughout the Middle East. They have developed a very close relationship with the Iranians inside Syria that is extending now into Iraq, and I know for a fact it will extend into Yemen as well. That is the key relationship, Russia and Iran together. They are military allies at this point. They are certainly geopolitical allies in the Middle East as well. We have to be very careful about any rhetoric coming out of Russia that suggests that they are allied with us in terms of common interest in the Middle East. Not true at all.
Well, and just quickly, just in front of Congress yesterday, the commander that leads our troops in Afghanistan said that Russia is trying to undermine everything we're doing inside that country, which only goes to your point. So just finishing up quickly here, General Keane, how does the message that we're trying to send Iran, that you say this administration is sending Iran, also get to Russia directly?
The Russians are watching our behavior in the Middle East very closely. And they're recognizing that President Trump at least in these first 3 weeks of the administration, has reached out to every single Sunni Arab leader and reassured him that the United States is reestablishing its relationship with our allies in the Middle East in the historical and traditional role that the United States has ever had. Number one, we will defeat ISIS in the region. Number two, we will confront Iran's behavior, and we will not permit Iran to trample on your interest or our interest in the Middle East. Russia is watching that wide-eyed, believe me, because that is not in their interest, to be sure.
A lot to think about. General Keane, great to have you. Thank you.